I never planned to become the villain in someone else's story. That's the funny part. I walked into that place thinking I was invisible, thinking if I kept my head down, did my job, didn't make waves, I'd get through another day just fine. Turns out, I was already a target long before I realized it. And yeah, what happened next changed everything. It started on an ordinary Monday, the kind where nothing feels important until it suddenly is. I'd been working at this company for almost 3 years. Mid-level role, nothing flashy, just enough responsibility to be useful and just little enough to be ignored. I wasn't the loudest voice in the room, didn't golf with the executives, didn't laugh at the right jokes. I showed up early, left late, did clean work, and somehow that made me suspicious. You know what I mean? Some people don't trust quiet competence. They mistake it for weakness. My manager, let's call him Grant, had a habit of talking down to people. Not yelling, not outright insults, just that smooth, polished kind of disrespect that leaves no paper trail. He'd correct you in meetings, smile while doing it, rephrase your ideas like they were his, then look at you like you should be grateful. I told myself it was part of corporate life, that if I stayed patient, it would pass. That was my first mistake. The second mistake was thinking it was just about work. One afternoon during a team meeting, Grant leaned back in his chair, glanced at my report on the screen, and said, "Interesting approach. Not sure it's sophisticated enough for this level, though." The room went quiet. A few people laughed awkwardly. I felt that heat creep up my neck, that familiar burn of being judged without evidence. I nodded, swallowed it, moved on. Later, a coworker whispered, "Man, he really has it out for you." I shrugged it off, but something settled in my gut that day, a feeling that this wasn't random. From that point on, the pressure tightened. Deadlines moved without notice. Emails went unanswered, then I'd be blamed for not following up enough. I'd submit work, then be told I never sent it. Little things, deniable things, stacked carefully. Grant started dropping comments about fit and culture. You hear those words enough, you start to wonder if you're the problem. The breaking point came on a Thursday afternoon. Grant called me into a glass-walled conference room. No HR, no warning. Just him, his laptop, that calm smile. "I'm concerned," he said, folding his hands. "There's a perception issue." I asked him to explain. He leaned forward slightly. "Some people feel you're defensive, not very collaborative." I almost laughed. Defensive? I had barely spoken up in months. I asked for examples. He gave none. Just vibes. Just feelings. Just that same smooth tone that said this conversation was already decided. I walked out of that room knowing something was wrong, but not yet knowing how far it went. That night, I didn't sleep. I replayed every interaction, every email. And then something clicked. I opened my laptop and started digging. Not hacking, not spying, just my own inbox, my own files. I found meeting invites I'd never received, documents I'd been excluded from, decisions made in rooms I wasn't allowed into, then blamed for not anticipating. It wasn't incompetence, it was isolation. The next week, things escalated. Grant criticized me openly, sharper now, less careful. During a presentation, he interrupted me mid-sentence. "Let's move on," he said. "We're short on time." Then he used my slide 5 minutes later. Same words, same data, different mouth. That's when I felt something snap. Not anger, not yet. Clarity. I stopped trying to appease him. I started documenting everything. Dates, times, witnesses, exact words. I asked questions in writing. I followed up every conversation with a summary email. Polite, calm, unemotional. You could feel the shift. Grant noticed. His tone changed. Less smug, more tense. Then came the ambush. One morning, HR called me in. Grant was already there, arms crossed, looking almost relieved. HR started talking about concerns raised and performance trends. I listened quietly. When they finished, I asked a simple question. "Can you show me the complaints?" Silence. Papers shuffled. Grant cleared his throat. "This isn't about paperwork," he said. "It's about trust." That's when I opened my folder. I laid everything out. emails contradicting his claims, calendar logs, version histories showing my work predated his, screenshots of instructions he'd given, then denied. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't accuse, I just presented facts. The room changed. HR's posture stiffened. Grant stopped smiling. He tried to interrupt me. "You're being dramatic," he said. I looked at him and replied, "No, I'm being accurate." The words landed harder than I expected. You could feel it. The power dynamic cracked. HR asked for time to review everything. Grant stood up abruptly. "This is ridiculous," he snapped, then caught himself. Too late. The mask slipped. And for the first time, I wasn't the one shrinking in that room. The investigation took weeks. Long, quiet weeks where people avoided eye contact, where rumors floated. I kept doing my job. Same quality, same calm. Inside, though, I was exhausted, angry, vindicated, all at once. There were days I wanted to quit just to end the tension. But then I remembered every moment I'd been made to feel small, and I stayed. The call came on a Friday afternoon. HR asked me to come in. Grant wasn't there. The director spoke carefully. "We've concluded our review." My heart pounded. "We found significant issues with management conduct." She paused. "Effective immediately. Grant is no longer with the company." I didn't cheer. I didn't smile. I just exhaled. Years of pressure leaving my chest in one long breath. But here's the twist. That wasn't the end. The following Monday, the CEO requested a meeting. I walked in expecting formality, maybe damage control. Instead, he looked tired, honest. He said, "I owe you an apology. We missed this." He asked me to tell my story, start to finish. And for the first time, someone at the top listened without interrupting. 3 months later, I was promoted. Not quietly, publicly. My role expanded. My voice mattered. Policies changed. Training was rolled out. People who'd watched silently started speaking up. A few even apologized for not backing me sooner. I accepted them, but I didn't forget. Because winning didn't feel like fireworks. It felt like relief. Like standing upright again after being bent for too long. Here's what nobody tells you. Standing up doesn't make you fearless. It makes you tired. It makes you doubt yourself. It costs you sleep, peace, sometimes friends. But staying silent costs more. It costs pieces of who you are little by little until you don't recognize yourself anymore. I used to think strength meant endurance. Taking it. Pushing through. Now I know better. Strength is choosing to be seen when being invisible feels safer. Strength is saying, "That's not true," when everyone hopes you won't. So here's my question for you. Was I right to push back, or should I have just walked away? Is it better to fight broken systems from inside or protect yourself and leave? Have you ever watched someone get targeted and said nothing, or been the one everyone underestimated? Drop your thoughts below. I read every comment. And if this story felt familiar, if you've lived some version of it, you're not alone. Silence protects power, not people. And the moment you stop accepting it, everything changes.